Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back. So I wanted to talk about Daryl and how his story was going to end for the final season of The Walking Dead. I mean, spoiler alert, we already know that he is going to survive the series because they did announce that spinoff series. So Daryl for sure is going to survive. So I'm not going to make any kind of prediction at the end saying that he's going to die or anything like that. I've always said that I thought Daryl was going to die at the end of the series, but that was at that point, like when I used to say that, I was assuming that Rick was still going to be on the show because I always said that there's no way Rick and Daryl are both going to survive. One of them is going to die, and I still kind of think that Daryl at some point will die because I think it makes sense. But I think what they might do is have Daryl have like an offspring, have a child, and this way, even though Daryl dies, you're following the child of Daryl, and so you have whatever that child's name is, and their last name would be Dixon, and you kind of continue that storyline because I noticed that's what they're doing. Like we have Morgan Jones, or not Morgan, I guess Jones. I guess that baby would have his last name, right? I'm assuming. But Morgan Jones Jr., I guess. We have Rick Grimes Jr., we have Judith Grimes, and it seems like that is their plan. Is they want to continue this. They want to have a Walking Dead Next Generation show at some point. They want this show to have a legacy, and I'm totally on board with that. Like I think that would be really cool, and I think Daryl needs to have a kid at some point, right? I think, and I said that in my live stream, I think yesterday actually, was that some people I think need to have kids, and you can just kind of see it. Some people are just meant to be fathers or mothers. And I think that obviously there are some people that just, they're not meant to be parents. But in my opinion, I don't think that that's Daryl. And that's actually a prediction I have for the final season, is that Leah at some point is going to come back in the final season and Daryl is going to have a child. That Leah was actually pregnant, and that's probably one of the reasons why she left. Angela King did say that the things that happened in those bonus episodes were things that they already planned for the final season. So I know Leah was a part of it. Leah, I believe, was a part of some type of romance plan for Daryl in the final season. And so that makes me question his relationship with Connie as well. Honestly, I still think he's going to end up with Connie, but I think his relationship will be kind of, it's possible that Leah comes back, they have a child, this and that, but then they find Connie, and then there's this like love triangle type situation where Daryl's like, I have to choose who I want to be with. And it would be so weird for Daryl to be in a situation like that. Do I choose Leah, who is like the mother of my child and this and that, and I obviously still have strong feelings for her, and I've wanted her to come back. I miss her, and he like literally fell for her. And Connie, who things haven't really gotten to anywhere with her, but I do have this special, I have feelings for her kind of thing. And, in the end, I kind of feel like, and maybe it's the more obvious choice, but I feel like he's going to make the decision to go with Connie because Connie doesn't deserve any of that. And I think he'll look at Leah like, you know what? You shouldn't have left. I can be here and stuff for my child, but, you shouldn't have left. Like, this isn't going to work. I've kind of moved on now. I think that could be an aspect of the season. At least I'm hoping so, because they introduced Leah. It would be weird to just kind of ignore that for the rest of the series because she left. That's a question I have. The show has introduced this question of what happened to Leah. You can't just ignore it, right? So I hope that that story does play a role in the final season. If not, I will be disappointed, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Daryl, throughout the series, he started off being this like asshole character who was very distant from the group. And then we saw him change. And I think the moment that changed for him was with Sophia's death. I think that changed him a lot, because that caused a bond with Carol in the beginning. And that's when I thought him and Carol were going to be a thing. And then eventually, it turned out to be more of, no, we're just like best friends, like really best friends, right? And then slowly, Daryl ended up being very loyal to everyone. And I think the biggest moment was when Daryl lost his brother. I think that really cut his ties to his old life, because like, have you ever had people that come into your life who act a certain way and you almost feel like you're being pulled back into that life? Like people who come into your life that used to be in your life, maybe when you were younger or whatever, and then they come back into your life and then they're still acting the same way. And then you kind of feel like, oh man, I've changed so much since then. And you almost feel like you're getting pulled back into it a little bit. I think Daryl felt that a lot with Merle because he thought Merle died. And then he grew a lot with Sophia's death and stuff. And then when Merle came back, that's when he felt this need to go back to that, but he didn't have to, right? He had this new family. And I think that was very smart of him to make that decision to be like, no, like I'm staying here. And so I think Merle's death, that closure, changed a lot for Daryl. And afterwards, he eventually, you think of season 4 when Rick said, "You're my brother, Daryl." That was the biggest. That was the biggest moment right there. I mean, screw Rick having a brother on the show, because in the comic he does. He has a brother, Jeffrey Grimes. I would say Daryl's his brother, right? So at that point, Daryl became like Daryl and Rick were just close as hell, like just a brotherly bond right there. And then really at that point, he just supported Rick in everything. Like he was so loyal to him in forming Alexandria. And I think that was his story for the most part, and has kind of been his story since then. He's had these little moments here and there, like, he was kind of responsible for Glenn's death in a sense, right? Like his actions got Glenn killed, but he didn't kill Glenn. But same thing, kind of. Not really, but it's kind of related. You know what I mean, anyways. The loss of Rick, that isolation afterwards, and then Leah and leaving, like, it's been this emotional roller coaster. And I would say what has happened to the character recently is they've introduced this love aspect and this love story for the character. And I do think that's going to be one of his main focuses in the final season, is finding that sense of normalcy, because he hasn't really been able to. And honestly, I think something would have happened with Daryl and Carol earlier in the series if he was able to open up like this. But only one person did that, and that was Leah. And it happened way later. And maybe Daryl had to be in a situation he was in where he lost Rick, and it turned into that. But yeah, and we even saw in the episode, months and years went by before he even approached her with anything. So like, it took a lot for Daryl to be able to make that first step, and he eventually did. And so that's why we're seeing that happen with Connie. And so I think that Daryl, for the most part, his arc, I mean, really his overall story arc ended in like season 4. I feel like as soon as Rick said, "You're my brother, Daryl," and Daryl felt that happiness, that feeling he got from when Rick said that, I think that really ended his story arc, because ever since then, he's been practically the same character until now, when they've introduced more of this aspect to him, where he is a little more interesting now, I would say. But Daryl is one of those characters where his story is kind of far from over, because he's almost like the action hero of The Walking Dead, I would say, right? Like his story is... It's almost like it'll just keep going on and on and on, because there's no real end, because there was also no real beginning to the character. If you think about it, like he had his whole background and stuff with Merle, and you had that little arc there where Merle died and stuff. But like overall, there was no real beginning, no real arc or purpose for the character. He was never meant to be this popular. He just wasn't. He was made up, literally. The fans loved him so much because of what they saw from him in season 1 and 2, and then it just kind of built on to 3 and 4. And I would say they lost that a lot with Daryl. They lost a lot of what made him so special in those first 4 seasons. But he still has his moments here and there, right? Like he still has those moments, and you could make the argument that his arc ended when Merle died. But like I said, I think he's kind of an action hero in that sense, like Rambo and all that, where you can kind of keep making up the story. You can kind of keep going. Like he's not a Rick, where Rick's story clearly has an end. It'll have a poetic end. Daryl is not really like that. But what they are introducing with Leah here in the final season, I think that in some sense is going to be how his story ends here. And so overall, how do I think Daryl's story is going to end? Well, I think he's going to make a decision on the whole love thing, because that's been a question throughout the whole series. I think Daryl's going to make a decision on who he's going to choose. And I will make that bold prediction. I do think Leah is going to be appearing in the final season. It could be in the second part, but I do think she'll be in the final season. Obviously, Connie's going to come back, and we're going to start to see how all of that plays out. And obviously, Daryl's going to survive. He will find out that Rick's alive in the final season. And in the end, he's going to go out and search for Rick. This was kind of obvious, I know, because we obviously got the confirmation of the spinoff, but I just wanted to touch on this character and just what has happened. And it'll be kind of similar with Carol, because Carol we know is going to be in the spinoff. But besides those two characters, any other character is, I guess, killable, because the final season, so they can. So yeah, I'm going to leave it here. Post all your thoughts down below. Make sure to be a subscriber if you want more Walking Dead content like this. The podcast will be coming out later on tonight. I know it's a day late, and that's just because we had a lot of Father's Day stuff that we had to do last night, and we were just so tired. The kids fell asleep, and we were just like, let's just go to bed. And so we're going to record it today. It'll come out, and everything will still be on schedule. So yeah, expect that then. But like I said, hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Make sure to be a subscriber if you want more Walking Dead content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.